Good morning, everybody. Hello out there all over the world. We love all of you followers and welcome to Earth and Sky. This is our first wintry broadcast. I hope our backdrop doesn't make you too cold out there. Guess it depends on where you are in the world. I was talking to somebody in the Philippines today and she said it was excessively hot. She was tired of the heat. Okay, so it's all perspective. It depends on where you're at, where you are in the present moment. So wherever you are, if you would please hit the like button on our Facebook page and hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, you can also hit the bell button to choose how often you would like to get our notifications. If you want to get them all the time or occasionally, go ahead and hit that bell button, subscribe, like, we really appreciate that. And if you're interested in ever donating to us so that we can continue all the upgrades we're looking to do, we certainly would appreciate that. Send us a private message if you're interested in that. We have the summer backdrop so far, which you've been seeing recently, and now we have this new winter backdrop. We also want to get spring and fall, and we have some great ideas for the ceiling in here too for those of you who join us in person, and that way it'll make it a really nice ambient atmosphere when we do the sacred gong meditations here, the singing bowl meditations, and all of those things. So if you're interested in contributing to that, just send us a message. We would love to have you help us out with that as well. And we're just happy to be able to provide this content. And this is an exciting one because we are actually shifting gears. Last year, we were doing the Wheel of the Year through the whole year. So we had all of the different holidays, the Sabbats and the Esbats, and we've covered those. If you missed out on any of them, feel free to look back in the archives on YouTube or Facebook on our page to check out and see what each of these different things mean here. And this year, we're expanding on it. I don't have the little thing we're going to add to it yet, but we will be adding, with each new moon, we're going to be adding very specific moon phases. We're going to do those here more centered into the wheel. So, and with that, that means that throughout the next year, we're going to be talking about all 13 moons in 2018, because 2018 is special. We have 13 moons, not 12 moons. Anytime there are 13 moons, that means you have a blue moon. And so we're going to go into what each of the full moons means as they come up. We're also going to talk about the different moon phases and when you want to plan certain things. What do you do at the new moon? What do you do at each of the waxing and waning moons? And how can you apply that power of the moon to your life? Because when you think about the power of the moon, if it seems a little esoteric to you in the moment, I'll bring it down to scientific terms. Our bodies are made of about 80% water, and the moon has its elliptical orbit where it circles the earth, and as it does so, it has a pull on the tides of the ocean, and you can actually see, depending on what the moon is doing, how the tides are coming in. And that's because it has that draw with the water. Well, it has that same draw within each one of us, because we have so much water within us. So when you learn about the aspects and then how that will relate to your life, you can really harness the power of the moon, whether it's new, full, waxing, waning, wherever it is in the cycle, and then learning what each month moon means. Because for millennia, a lot of people actually followed a lunar calendar instead of the solar calendar. Now in our culture, we're used to doing the solar calendar. So this is going to track back a bit through history. And the Celtics have their own naming conventions for each of the different moons. And the Native Americans had their own naming conventions for each of the moons. Often they actually coincided to be very similar in the same meaning. So it's really fascinating to see how that works, even though they were different time periods and certainly different spaces around the world. So this moon, we're in December, is actually last Sunday, December 3rd, that we had the full moon, but those energies are still in effect. The energies of a full moon will last for about a week before, a week after, depending on what you're doing. You might want to do some work closer to the full moon, or you can spread it out. You're going to feel the effects of the full moon certainly for about 2 weeks each time, and then you'll feel the effects of the new moon for about 2 weeks, and you'll have those tweaks of whether it's waxing or waning spun into the center there. And so this moon, the December moon, is known as the cold moon. Surprise, right? It's also known as the long nights moon, is another name, and it's also known as the oak moon. And we have a lot of really special things specifically with December 3rd's 2017 moon that's carrying us with a lot of energy into 2018 as we get ready to transition with the next couple moons coming up in January as well. And so with it being the oak moon, and the cold in the long nights moon, really you think about how it's self-explanatory. Cold, people are starting to figure out how they're going to survive the winter, because when they did those naming, they didn't have electricity and stores on the corner, so you had to figure out how you're going to survive the cold. This was often a time of loss. Sometimes it was known as a time of deception, grief, because people would tend to die, or animals even would tend to die more because of the cold weather. And so a lot of those emotions can come up within us depending on what's going on in our life, but people might experience more of that too. We still have an increase in deaths, it seems, in December oftentimes, which can be hard being right around the holidays, but we really do see a lot of that increase, it seems, in December typically. And so just be aware of the emotions that you're feeling, and then try to ask yourself, see where those emotions are coming from, and then honor that. If it's something that's going on in your life, honor those emotions. Take time to think about what's going on in your life, and if it feels like you can't name anything that is causing those emotions, whether it's grief or sadness or anxiety that can sometimes come with this moon, then recognize you might just be feeling the energy of the moon, and you might be feeling its pull on you, and then snap yourself back out of it and recognize, bring yourself into the present moment, and look at your life and that perspective on your life. This is also a time of planning, because we're going into the longer months, the hibernation months. And so since we don't hibernate as people, we do tend to go inside. We stay inside more. It's a wonderful time for family, for planning, for thinking about what's to come, and also reflecting on what has occurred. What has this last year been for you? If you've been doing the gratitude box throughout the year, this is the perfect time to look back at your gratitude box and see what you've been writing for all of the different days. You could even use that as an advent calendar and pull out a certain number of things to read each day. And what a great way to look back on the year is seeing all of the things you've been grateful for. It's wonderful to do that this time of year. And specifically with it being Mercury in retrograde, because right around the time that the moon went full, we also had Mercury go into retrograde, which can be a sticky time period. And on top of that, this full moon is in Gemini. Well, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So that's communication and technology, especially technology with communications. If your cell phones are going wonky right now, if you're having computer issues right now, if you feel like you're not communicating with your spouse or not being heard by people that are around you, your coworkers, you're just not meshing, that's probably because of the Mercury retrograde. So this moon, you really, because of Mercury retrograde, you want to be reflecting on things that have happened, and you want to look at what has gone well this last year, and look at what's been really successful, and take time to take that in and think about the successes that you've had, and also look back on the things that haven't worked out so well and figure out where could you improve on that next year. What things do you want to let stay in 2017, and what things do you want to bring with you in 2018, whether that's ideas, concepts, people, relationships, communication patterns, whatever it is, habits within yourself. Look at all of those things and kind of start planning and figuring out what worked and what didn't work. Because you don't want to plan and start new things while Mercury is in retrograde. Otherwise, if we weren't in retrograde, I would be telling you right now that this is a great time to reflect and start planning for next year. but not right now. I'm going to have you wait until Christmas Eve for that. And so since it's Christmas Eve that Mercury goes direct, you might as well just do more reflecting and enjoying time with family and having Christmas. So enjoy your Yule, your Christmas Eve, your Christmas Day, and then you can start planning for the new year. Because anytime Mercury's in retrograde, there's two main rules. Understand that communication's going to get crazy, so have a little patience with that. And also don't start anything new, because if you start something new, it's probably not going to come to fruition until the next Mercury retrograde. And so you don't want things to be hanging out in limbo with projects feeling like you're just hitting that wall. So save yourself that. Just skip on starting anything new. Do a lot of reflecting. Now, some other really significant things with this moon, Mercury, or the sign of Gemini, which is this moon, is in the 11-degree mark. And opposite that, Sagittarius is in the sun at the 11-degree mark. And then if you look at numerology, which we've talked about a bit lately, if you look at the year 2018, which is what we're going into, you add 2 plus 1 plus 8, what do you get? 11. So you have this whole trine of 11. There are a lot of other 11s going on right now in the astrology chart as well. So 11 is a master number. It's also a teaching number. It's really a great number to have as you're starting new projects and you're getting ready to build relationships. It's a great builder number too. So once we get through the Mercury retrograde, you're going to have all of this energy of this moon that's going to really carry you through and catapult you into January so that you can start those projects. Wait to start really planning them until after Christmas, day after Christmas. Feel free to start planning all of it. And then that just focus on using this energy of the moon, even just keeping it in your mind that you can harness that energy. Just having that thought is going to give you that extra power to catapult you. And because it's an 11, that also reduces to a 2, which is harmony and balance and partnerships. So you're going to be able to carry a lot of that energy through with you into this next year as well. So where this last year was a 1 and we had a lot of solitary things, it felt like a lot of work and a lot of activity for a lot of people. Next year we're bringing in that harmony, that balance, partnering with people. So use the energy of this moon to really reflect, make your checklist of what worked for you, what didn't work for you, what you want to carry into next year, what you want to leave behind you, and just wait until Mercury goes direct to really start making plans as you start looking forward with how you're going to put those into action. Every time we reflect on things, it's so that we can learn from it, but then it's also so that we can plan for the future. And when you plan for the future, you need to also make your action steps. So that week between Christmas and New Year's is going to be perfect to write out your action plan. What do you want for the new year? Come up with those resolutions. You may have already come up with resolutions at Samhain of what you want for this next year, but really evaluate those and harness that power. Now, some of the other exciting things going on with the moon, this is a super moon too. That's a newer term that's been coined. It's actually, supermoon means that the moon is perigee and full. So the moon has an elliptical orbit. It doesn't just go circular around the Earth. It has an elliptical orbit. So when it's perigee, that means it's actually the closest point to us that is possible. So that's why it does look bigger. It really is closer to us. And it has to be full for it to be the supermoon. So those two things are happening right now. The last time that happened was the November moon of 2016. So it's been about a year since we've had a supermoon. Now NASA is really excited because right now we have a trilogy of supermoons coming. So we have this December moon, and then we also have a moon in the beginning of January that is going to be a supermoon, and a moon in the end of January that's a blue moon and a supermoon. So it's quite a bit of activity going on. So yeah, NASA said it's the trilogy of supermoons, and it's really exciting to have that happen. That doesn't happen very often, And the other name for this moon is the oak moon. And the reason they call it the oak moon, this was one of the Native American terms, it's because as you go into these cold winter months, you need to think of strength. You need to find your strength. You need to find the endurance that you have within you and really be able to pull up from that wellspring. So this is also a good time to think about what your strengths are. If you feel like you're not very strong right now, if you're at a point where you're feeling emotionally a bit weak or unsettled, then it's really a great time to start looking within and realize that you have everything you need within you already, that you have that strength within you already, and that you can achieve everything that you want. You simply need to know what it is you want to achieve in this next year and call it forth, and then recognize you have the strength to get through anything. A lot of people have had a lot of challenges last year in 2016. That was a very challenging year for a lot of people, and this was kind of a fresh start in 2017. And so if you feel like you're just kind of starting to get your legs underneath you, then use this moon to really find that strength within you. Pull yourself up. And you can even just go outside and stare at the moon as it's, so beautiful and so close to us right now, and just look at it and just ask it to send strength to you, and ask her to just, shine her light into you, shining that strength into you. Meditate as you go out for a moonlit walk. That can always be really nice. Moonlit walk in the forest is one of my favorite things that I haven't done lately, and I need to get back to doing. So this supermoon trilogy would be a perfect time because it lights it up so nice. It's very easy to see at night when you have it so bright. So we have several chances of that coming up for those wonderful nights. A lot of times with the full moon, you'll also get a lot of activity, and there's different reasons for that. One, it's got that pull on us where it's, raising up, it's kind of creating a raging rapid within the water within our body, and it also lights it up outside, so it's a lot easier for people to mill about and do various things because they've got the light of the moon illuminating everything. It gets everybody a little bit more excited. And so really when you start to focus on it and you recognize what's going on with you and you recognize that the pull is having an effect on you, then you can harness that. Instead of being controlled by it, you can learn how to harness that power and control yourself and catapult yourself forward with the energy of the full moon. The other thing with the oak moon, being that this is a time where winter is just starting to come in, winter is getting ready to rain, and you really need to remember the endurance, because it's not just about quick races at this point. It's about hunkering down for the long haul, really going within, taking the next few months once we get past Christmas to really figure out what it is you want. What do you want out of your life? Do you know what your destiny is in your life? Ask those big questions of yourself right now, and then figure out what your map is for this next year. Figure out what your life map is. Do you want to have a map that says, what you're going to be doing for the next 3 or 5 or 10 years? Well, this is a great time between Christmas and New Year's to really lay down all of that. Figure out what it is, put it out to the universe, and then write your action plan and start putting that into place. As soon as we hit January, we're in that 11 year. You're going to have that fantastic energy, that partnerships. Things are going to be starting to come onto your side a lot next year. You have a lot of that planetary energy where things are coming around on your side. Another interesting with the oak moon, the Celtics and the Native Americans both did call it the oak moon, and the Druids would collect mistletoe on the 6th day after the new moon, which would actually this year be December 9th. And it was fascinating. They would cut it only with a golden sickle that was in the shape of a crescent moon. And then they had some rituals that they would do with the mistletoe and celebrating the oak tree, bringing in the strength and the endurance and getting ready for those long winter nights. So I hope that helps you a little bit with understanding a little bit about what's going on with the current moon. So many exciting things. We're going to be covering a lot this next year about different things with the moon phases. So this was just a small introduction to it and a lot of detail about this specific moon because there's so much going on with it right now. It's just fascinating. And so I hope you are having a very good holiday season, start to the holiday season. That's the other thing that's great with this full moon energy. If you're needing to wrap up Christmas shopping or getting your plans together for, if you've already got your plans established and you're just working to elaborate on your plans for your holiday meal, if you're having people over, this moon is really going to charge up those efforts. It's going to be adding extra energy, helping you throughout this next week to get that extra boost of energy that you might need to get all of those things done. And with reflecting, if there's somebody maybe that you didn't see at Thanksgiving that you wish you had talked to or you wish you'd been able to see, this is a great time between now and Christmas Eve to give them a call, catch up, talk with people, reflect, think about those great memories, and figure out how you're going to make some new good memories throughout this next year. So if you haven't already, please like that button below on the Facebook page, hit subscribe to us on YouTube, and leave us any feedback you have. We always love to hear from you. I love to hear from you online as well as in person, and I always appreciate meeting those of you that I get to meet in person. I hope you have a wonderful week. If you're interested in the classes we have coming up too, tomorrow night we have the crystal gridding class at Right Natural Health. It's going to be an introductory class on how to use crystals and in a grid to really make your crystals work for you. I love crystals grids because it's a great way to really harness that power and charge up your crystals, make them work for you even when you're not around them. You can do a grid and it's amazing almost the miracles you can create through crystal gridding. And all of the grid crystals that I have will be 20% off tomorrow night only at Right Natural Health. So please join us down there. If you want an early look at the crystals, come on down at 5:30. The class will start promptly at 6 p.m. And if you can make it at 5:30, that's great though. The address is 1260 South Linden Road in Flint, Michigan. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week.